Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix Show. My name is Chris Wong. There's a lot of Star Wars news today that dropped, but also a little bit of Batman. Ben Affleck was recently interviewed following the release of Justice League, and this is all on Heroic Hollywood. He talks about a little bit about his possible future as Batman still yet, or if he remains interested in directing a Batman film. This is what he had to say. For me, it's interesting, and I always evaluate this stuff on the merit of the material. I want to direct a Batman movie, and I never got a script that I was happy with. So they are starting over and writing another script, and right now I think a lot of different possibilities, for the way the DC Universe could go. And I would just follow my interests in pursuing that. And I know that I love working with this group of people, and it was a real joy for me to make this movie. So obviously from these comments, he seems pretty happy to be Batman. But like a lot of people were knowing, kind of figuring out why isn't he part of Matt Reeves' The Batman. And it seems much more clear now that he never got the script that he wanted. He was taking his time to make his script. Warner Brothers, on the other hand, looks like they were trying to push for a movie out. And with the success of the Rise of the Planet of the Apes and all the other Planet of the Apes movies, they want Matt Reeves to come in and do the Batman. Or maybe Matt Reeves had thought about it. And then when Matt Reeves finally got something, nailed something down, he says, I'm going to do the Batman, but maybe Ben Affleck won't be my Batman. And so that kind of caused a little bit conflicted. And you can kind of feel, Ben Affleck having sour grapes about that. I don't know if he was promised to make a Batman movie. It felt like he was promised to have a Batman movie after being cast as Batman. It's like that's part of his contract. And so it's kind of a bummer that he won't be able to direct a Batman and got a script that he really wanted. He wanted to wait for a script. So judging from these comments, he still wants to be Batman, but because of what transpired between the Warner Brothers execs and how they were pushing him to make a Batman film, and he just never got the right script, and they ran off and went to Matt Reeves and said, hey, what about you? Can you make a Batman film? No Ben Affleck? No problem. Let's do it. And so that feels very cheap for me. And if that's really the case, man, that is really on Warner Brothers execs here. They are they're really terrible people. And it's not just, I've always said already, Kevin Tsujihara, Toby Emmerich, you guys gotta get out. Tsujihara, you gotta get out. The moment you are sabotaging your own company by trying to get a bonus check and lessening the hours, cutting stuff out, changing the vision of the director, you're no longer working for your company. You're working for yourself. You're working for your own bonus, your own benefits. And if I was the board, if I even owned any part of share of Warner Brothers, I'd kick him out right now. I need someone in the department that will work for the company, not against the company, for their own benefit. And this is not just the DC Extended Universe. If the same guy happened to be in the Lucasfilms, or happened to be in Disney, or God, the guy from Nike, if the guy who makes Nike shoes, I'm just gonna make a crappy shoe because I want to get my bonus at the end of the year, and I'm just gonna throw it out there, and then so I get my bonus, then fine. Fire that guy immediately. So that's my thoughts on that. And I hope that Ben Affleck can continue being Batman, because he is the best Batman I've ever seen on screen, and I want him to continue. He's such a badass as a Batman, and he's the most rugged. He's the most some jokes were kind of hit and miss in the Justice League, but for the most part, Batman, him being Batman v Superman, that is Batman, and he is balls to the walls crazy, and it's awesome, and I want to see him more of that. But hopefully there's something future for him along the lines of the DC Universe. So I'm still hoping out that maybe one day we'll get to see a Ben Affleck directed Batman. He may not be Batman at that point because it's easier for him to direct not in the costume, but I'd like to see what he'd do with that. But that's it for the DC Extended Universe. I'm sorry, not too many news on that, but let's get into Star Wars. Star Wars Rotten Tomatoes. They have confirmed that the audience score you see on Rotten Tomatoes, it's at now like a 55%. It is real. It is true. I know they've been trying to go out, and some people are saying, oh, I'm a bot, or there were bots that doing this, I hacked into it, blah, blah, blah. Deadline made a whole report about it not being the correct score, but that, 54% audience score. So Dana Benson, the vice president of communications at Rotten Tomatoes parent company Fandango, she, I guess she was kind of insulted by this, and so she came out and said, "We have several teams of security, network, and social database experts who constantly monitor reviews and ratings to ensure that they are genuine. They haven't seen anything unusual with The Last Jedi, except that there has been an uptick in the number of written user reviews submitted. Aside from that, everything is normal, and we don't see any unusual activity. We looked at The Last Jedi compared to other blockbusters, and it's been consistent with those past films." So she also wanted to note that Rotten Tomatoes is not the only website where negative reactions to the film can be found. "We have been working around the clock to get the numbers right. Authenticity is very important to us. We have security teams, network teams, database teams who work so hard. It's a little disheartening for them to see people make such accusatory claims without knowing the facts." So obviously they also want to protect themselves. Not saying they're wrong, but I'm just saying any company that has being accused of something, they're going to come out and they're going to make a statement about it, because that's just their site. They're accusing their site of misinterpretation, misinformation, or not getting the right facts and things like that. So you're going to have to come out and say a statement of that. But it seems like it's a little bit more. They've gone through searches and they've put out a giant statement saying that they have every level of technology, security, and network to make sure these are the exact right scores. These are we're scoring it correctly. We're having people who write on these upnotes are not bots and things like that. But there has been an uptick in a number of written user reviews. That means there are a lot of people who have a problem with this movie, and they're ready to say something about it. Probably more than any other film. Maybe other films are kind of like, well, yeah, but possibly. I mean, you all know I didn't like the movie. Okay, I didn't like the movie. I didn't like the movie the second time either. Okay, I tried doing that second time rewatch. I didn't like it, but second time was free. But it's okay for people to like it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you're happy about it. I'm not happy about it, and so people who are happy about it, you shouldn't be telling the people who are unhappy about it. It says you got to keep trying watching. You don't understand. You don't understand. So it's okay. I know a lot of people don't like it, and know people like it. I can't understand why they would like it, but that's fine. Everybody is subjective. Everybody's opinions. You're entitled to your own opinion, and that's fine with that. And it just seems that there's so much backlash on this film, but also a backlash on Rotten Tomatoes. And fair enough. I don't care for their scores. I don't care for the critics' reviews, because they're pulling out different reviews and putting a number on it. Rotten, it's either an A or an F. It really doesn't have the in between, unless you see that audience. That average score. Then that's your real ticker. But having all this users coming in, and they really want to say a voice, is very interesting, to say the least. It's holding at 54% right now. It has gone down within the I thought it was like 57 before, and it was holding there. So it says something. Maybe people went back to watch it again and didn't like it afterwards, or realized that this movie is not as great as the thing. If you still think it's great, I love it that you love it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But it's doesn't really mean anything right now. I mean, there's 100,000 written reviews on that thing, and half of them don't like it. That's fine. I think this has no effect on the box office whatsoever right now. We'll only see that if this, and it's a cinema score of an A, by the way. So if this comes out and the second week it drops 70-80%, then maybe there's some merit to the audience score. But right now, it just means that a lot of people have a voice and they want to talk about it, and so they're putting in their written reviews. They're scoring them. They went out of their way to score the review. So and I think that's great. I think everybody's entitled to their opinion, entitled to their voice. So but it's great to see that Fandango actually came out with a statement about it. And I hope I wish they'd come out with a statement about Justice League. Come on now, what are those those 3 out of 5s, those aren't rotten, you know. But anyway, that's just a different thing entirely. But same on the same subject of Star Wars: Last Jedi. We had that whole thing about Mark Hamill not being happy with the script, right? And then that was kind of, I guess, kind of debunked in a way, but not really, when he tweeted out after the movie's release, is like, he was a great, that Rian Johnson, that was a great vision, blah blah blah. I support that all the way. And so a lot of people says, well, see, he likes the movie. But then recently, just like today, this article came out in which he explains that. This explains a little bit further about his dislike. So in a recent interview posted on YouTube by user Jar Jar Abrams, Hamill expressed his feelings on Luke Skywalker's story arc in Rian Johnson's. So this is what he said. He said, I said to Ryan, Jedis don't give up. I mean, even if he had a problem, he would maybe take a year to try and regroup. But if he made a mistake, he would try and right that wrong. So right here, there, we had a fundamental difference, but it's not my story anymore. Okay, it's somebody else's story, and Ryan needed me to be a certain way to make the ending effective. That's the crux of my problem. Luke would never say that. I'm sorry. Well, in this version, see, I'm talking about the George Lucas Star Wars. This is the next generation of Star Wars, so I almost had to think of Luke as another character. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker, but I had to do what Ryan wanted me to do because it serves the story well. So, in a way, he's kind of just saying that this was his job. He had to follow Rian Johnson's vision, even though Rian Johnson's vision is not exactly what he thought George Lucas' vision would have been. So a lot of times, a lot of these Star Wars fans are right. This is not the Luke Skywalker they know full and well. This is not exactly the Luke Skywalker I knew full and well from the story and Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, and New Hope. And this is maybe a huge spoiler. So just letting you know, spoiler. Luke Skywalker dies. Okay, so this is what Mark Hamill says about Luke's death. He said, but listen, I still haven't accepted Luke's death completely, but it's only a movie. I hope people like it. I hope they don't get upset. And I came to really believe that Ryan was the exact man they need for this job. And rightfully so. He's marketing the movie. He's in the movie. He has to talk positive about the movie or he'll never be hired again. Okay? But you can tell his true feelings there. And it's his true feelings there matches up with a lot of Star Wars fans' feelings there, including myself. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I love the movies. I don't collect anything Star Wars-y. I just like the movies. I love the video games, except maybe Loot Crate Battlefront 2. But I like the video games, and so Luke Skywalker, I just knew that when you watch Last Jedi, that's not the same Luke. Like, why would he, who believed in his father so much that he'd sacrificed to get his father back, stand there above his nephew, take out his lightsaber, ready to kill him? That just does not make sense. His nephew, and stuff like that. Okay, stuff like that, and it's just it's very upsetting. I already talked this at length, but this interview shows that we're not wrong. I mean, in a way, yes, that is not the Luke Skywalker we know and love, and that's why fans are angry with it. The other part is that we haven't really accepted this guy's vision. This guy wants to change these characters that we know and well from the past to work into his vision, which is not widely accepted right now. It could be widely accepted, but in terms of people I've talked to, it's not. But and a lot of people says, well, how can you like Superman from Man of Steel and Batman v Superman? I already said this at length. This Luke Skywalker is played by Mark Hamill. It's within the same universe. This is the same character. Man of Steel was not played by Christopher Reeve. That was an origin story. That was an origin story of another Superman. Batman v Superman. Superman was the same as the Man of Steel Superman, but not the Superman from Superman the movie in 1978. So I understood that. If this movie is a sequel to some other Jedi movie, and it was a New Hope, the beginning, and Luke Skywalker was played by, I don't know, Jeffrey Rush or whatever, I don't know, some guy, and then Jeffrey Rush, man, he's old. If he was played by Colin Farrell, let's say he was played by Colin Farrell in the new Luke Skywalker movie, and he was how he acted in this movie, ready to strike his own family member with a lightsaber because he knew it was turning dark. If they changed it where he's like, I have to kill my father because he's Darth Vader, okay? Then and this is the sequel to it, decades later, and Colin Farrell comes back as Luke Skywalker and does this, then I'd be like, that's Luke Skywalker. Yep. The new origin of Luke Skywalker, Colin Farrell's version of Luke Skywalker, that's him. But no, this is Mark Hamill Luke Skywalker from before. That origin. It's matching origins, okay? It's just it doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, moving forward. Rian Johnson also Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill also kind of disagreed with Rian Johnson on something else, and this is about Lando. So if you haven't seen the movie, Lando's not in this movie. So a lot of people thought, this is perfect. There's a casino. Even I thought, I was like, Lando Calrissian's gonna be in this movie, but he's not. He didn't show up. Benicio del Toro showed up, some dude named DJ, but this Rian Johnson actually kind of puts out a statement that says, don't worry, there's more to it. So he says, believe me, I thought about bringing Lando back, believe me, I did, and it just wouldn't work. For reasons I can't really talk about without getting to spoilers, Lando, even in the position of any just specific story reasons, that he would not have worked, like in the capacity of the DJ part. Benicio's part. There's a reason that I had to be a new character and couldn't just be Lando. So it sounds like he has an extended part, even though he's not even involved in the third one. Maybe JJ looked at him and says, what do you think the third one would be? Okay, so apparently Lando may be in the third one, we don't know. But hopefully, that'd be kind of great. But Mark Hamill also said that he also thought, like many of us thought, that this is Lando would be a really great Master Codebreaker. He would be a perfect fit in the high stakes tables on Canto Bight. And so he said this: Han Solo won the Millennium Falcon in a game of chance with Lando. You'd think he'd be the casino boss. I love Billy D. Williams, and you're right. I think anyone who's still around that had anything to do with the original trilogy deserves to come back in some way. So obviously he really thought that Lando should have been in here too. So it's very interesting in how these different people, even people who worked in the Last Jedi, had differing views. And Mark Hamill is in a veteran position that he can say this kind of stuff. Like Daisy really will not say this, Finn would not say this. They're young. They need to get more work out there. So they, even if they had anything contradicting to say, at the end of the day, they have to support their movie. They have to support. They're representing that film. You're in the film. You have to represent. You have to say good stuff about it. So even though they have may or may not have contradictory feelings, they have to say that. But it seems like Mark Hamill's able to throw it in a little bit, just to show what he really feels, and then turns back around and says, "But I got hired for this, so I'm going to do whatever the director wants." That's how I see it anyway. But anyway, what do you guys think about these topics today? Are you excited to see Ben Affleck continue as Batman, or you think he's going to continue as Batman? And do you think he deserves to direct the Batman, or would you rather have a Matt Reeves Batman? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, anything and everything about Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill himself discussing about how Luke's character should have been, how this is not his Luke, but actually some guy named Jake Skywalker's he envisioned his head, so it makes it easier for him to change. And about Lando Calrissian, did you think he should have been the Last Jedi, or should we save him for another movie? Alright guys, thank you so much for subscribing, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.